welcome back to the channel. I am 3 weeks postpartum as of yesterday, 3 weeks in a day, and feeling great. There were times I cried throughout these 3 weeks, but you know, that's new mother life. But anyway, this video I wanted to talk about labor and delivery, NICU life, and recovery. And I guess this video is mostly for new moms who have no idea how the whole process goes. I learned a lot from this experience that a lot of people tend to leave out. And I also watched other videos of people going through their delivery, and I experienced things that they didn't. So I guess everyone's, you know, labor and delivery is different in recovery, but there's some things I'm going to talk about that will be TMI. So if you cannot handle it, which you should be, because if you're pregnant, you're going to be doing this stuff anyway, you know, it's just a precaution, okay? So let's get right into this video because I don't have that much time these days. Okay, so one of the things that I was kind of worried about and didn't really know much about is how did I know I was in labor? Now there's this thing called false labor, Braxton Hicks. I kind of didn't really experience that. I guess it's just you feel your stomach tightening. I never felt that. I felt like cramping here or there, and they were kind of spotty. It wasn't consistent. So if it's not consistent, it's just pre-labor. But when you are in labor, you are gonna feel like you have period cramps. Now when I got mine, it was Thanksgiving morning. I thought it was because I had to like poop or something, which I did. But I realized that it was kind of consistent, like it didn't go away throughout the day. It wasn't bad or anything until that night when it intensified and then stopped. So basically when you're in labor, you're gonna feel like intense labor pain, right? For probably like, I don't know, depending on how far apart they are and how your body is flowing, but you'll like feel pain and then you won't. You'll be like cool, and then you feel pain and then you won't. It's weird. Like it'll be just like when I was walking around the hospital, I was just walking in a circle perfectly fine, and then I had the next second I was holding on to the wall and it was like, oh my god, somebody help me. And that was me, okay? But yeah, that was basically labor. My labor wasn't that bad. Just so you know, I had a natural birth, but by natural birth I also mean I had epidural. So even though it was natural, it was medicated. So it's like part 2 natural maybe. But anyway, yeah, all those mothers who give birth completely natural with no medication, y'all, the real MVPs, but I don't know how you do it. But I've had my years of bad period cramps, and I was not finna feel no pain during this experience. So that's basically it. You feel like you're having your period and it's consistent. And if it gets more intense, then you know, hey, it's time. Your baby is coming. And you could always call your doctor, you know, to make sure that, you know, you don't go to the hospital too early or too late, because that happens. But if you honestly feel like, you know, I think this baby is coming, because only you know your body. Your doctor can only know so much. Just go to the hospital. And that's what I did. I was like, nah, B, this ain't. Anyway, let's get into the delivery part. So, delivery. But before delivery, I got an epidural. Now I feel like a lot of people's knowledge of epidural is like, it's like the worst needle pain ever. Honestly, the prick on the finger thing that you get in the hospital, and at like the regular doctor visits, that crap hurts more than an epidural, okay? So they, you know, you have to sit like a turtle or a cat, you know how they arch their back? And just like sit over, and they're gonna put the needle wherever they need to put it, and you feel like a little burn, but honestly after that you don't feel anything else. Also, I didn't think about this before, but when you get epidural you cannot move around. I'm thinking in my head like, oh, I'm gonna be that pregnant woman that walks around with the IV thing, or I'm like, no, stupid, you're completely numb from your waist down to your toes. And I wasn't thinking that. I really wasn't. But yeah, once the epidural is in, you kind of start to feel a little cold. I guess when you're numb, you start to feel a little cold. But yeah, I was pretty numb. Everything, like my legs felt weird. I was like, are my legs even here? I don't even know. But yeah, that was pretty easy. It wasn't hard. They had a machine that would just release the medicine whenever I needed it, or if it was really bad, I can press it myself. But I never had to do that, which was great. And if you still feel like a part of your body is not numb, please tell your doctor or your nurse, and they could, maybe because the epidural didn't work the first time, they could do it again. Who knows? We'll see. But that was epidural. It really wasn't that bad. I mean, I could do it again. Yeah. So, epidural is in you. Now it's time for you to push, because now you're going from 1 centimeter to 10. By the way, you do not feel your hoo-ha opening at all. They just go up there and say, yep, it's ready. You don't feel anything at all. Like I said, you're numb. And I don't think you would feel it even if you didn't have any medication. Your body is just doing what it needs to do. So I was confused. I was like, oh my God, is this pain? And so I started pressing that epidural thing. She was like, the nurse was like, Kelly, girl, this is pressure. And no medicine in the world gonna make you not feel pressure, because I didn't understand the difference between pressure and pain. And I was like, oh, okay, so this is supposed to happen. They're like, yeah, so what you feel is like you have to poop a rock this size. And I know I mentioned it in my birth vlog. If you haven't checked out my birth vlog, check it out, okay? It's like huge, like this big rock. And honestly, I didn't think my butt would be the issue during this. I thought my vagina would be, but whatever. So whenever you feel a contraction, they'd be like, okay, it's time to push. And I didn't think they would put my legs so far back. I was like, what are they doing? You know, but it was fine. And honestly, you push and it's not too bad. After a while though, I got really tired, and you know, some things had to be done. If you watched my birth vlog, you would have seen what happened. But yeah, that's basically it. You have to poop. You have to poop, and if they have to cut you, you also don't feel it. You don't really feel much. All you feel is pressure. When they push out the sac, you do feel the gush of warmth. Like when the baby comes out, you feel warmth. It feels kind of good actually. I was like, wow, it's like a great bath, because all of the fluid is coming out. It's really not that scary as people make it seem. But yeah, that's basically how it is from labor, delivery, and epidural and all that stuff. It's really, honestly, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the worst, I would give it a 4 or 5. That's just my experience. Even though I needed help pushing and getting the baby out, but it was really a good experience. Next, let's talk about NICU life. So I don't think anything could have prepared me for Kari being in the NICU, but I will say this, and I'm going to keep this in mind for the next time I have a child, if that happens, is, you know, I had a pretty healthy, non-complicated pregnancy, and my idea and what I envisioned it to be was not what happened for me. I envisioned, you know, him coming out and them placing him on my chest, skin to skin, and me just holding on to him for a little bit, and you know, they do their weigh-in and checking and all that stuff with him. But I didn't get to experience that, and that was really heartbreaking. I was pretty drugged up, so I wasn't like totally emotional, but as it wore off and as I, you know, got better and started to heal, I actually started walking probably an hour and some after giving birth. You walk pretty fine. Getting up is the hard part. Yeah, I was just a little sad. I didn't expect it to be that way. It was really sad. I just really wanted skin to skin, and I really wanted to breastfeed right there, and that was also hard for me because I didn't get a chance to have him latch. And even 3 weeks later, I'm having a really hard time with him latching, and so my confidence was shot like completely low, because I felt like this is not the environment that I wanted to experience this intimate moment with my son. So he was in the NICU for 48 hours because, like I said, I had a fever and they had to check his blood culture, and then he was in there longer for his blood sugar level. And it was just hard because, you know, I'm super tired, and he was upstairs because I was on the 5th floor, he was on the 6th floor, you know, constantly visiting him and doing this and wondering if he's okay, and just the sound of the machines. And at one point they put a tube in him, which I was actually really upset about because I feel like the nurse was just being lazy. And I'm like, if Kari didn't want to eat the entire bottle or a certain amount, that's fine. But she put a tube in him, and that made me really upset because I went home to shower and everything, came back and there's a tube in his nose, and he was like crying. He was not happy about it. So I was crying and wasn't happy about it. And I just wish that they would have told me that they were going to do that. So, you know, going forward, you know, just keep in mind, I'm not trying to say your kid's going to be in the NICU, but if, you know, that ends up happening to you, just make sure that you have great communication with the nurses, being like, listen, if you guys are gonna do something to my child, even something that doesn't seem as serious to you, like a tube, which is pretty serious to me, just let me know beforehand. Here's my number, you know, here's whatever. I just want to know. I feel like the parent also has to have some sort of say in things. Generally the hospital will tell you that you know, what they're doing, shots or this or that, but they didn't tell me about that, and that kind of threw me off. But Kari took it out his nose because he was like, I'm not doing this, which is crazy. I'm like, dude, you took a tube from your tummy all the way out of you, no crying, no nothing. I was like, wow, that's crazy. But that says a lot about my son, okay? It says a lot, and I'm very proud of him because he was 3 days old that day. But yes, just prepare yourself for NICU life. Just, the NICU is hard, but try to bring as much joy and laughter as possible. If you can have family stop by, which they can, just have them stop by, you know, play music that you listen to at home, or bring stuff that just makes you feel like it's home to the best of your ability, even though it's not and it's really hard. And yeah, it was tough 6 days, but we made it, and he's home and he's healthy. And before I left, I said like a silent prayer for like all the babies that were there, just that they would make it home all safe, healthy, they would develop and all that stuff. So yeah, that's my experience with NICU life. I mean, I could talk about it a little more, but ain't nobody got time for that. No. Alright, so I'm gonna talk about mama's physical recovery, okay? So some facts about me. When I was pregnant, up to the end of it, I was 194 pounds. Now I'm 170 pounds, which is like, girl, what? It was great, it was great. I feel like I did gain probably a little more weight after though, because all the IVs that were in me, I started swelling. But anyway, that's not an issue. I'm actually gonna show you my stomach right now. If you guys have watched my videos before, you know my stomach was not that big. So, okay, oh my god, it's so hard to get up. Oh. Alright, so this is my stomach right now. It's pretty flat. It's just, yeah, this is it. My booty is still gone, which is super sad, but yeah, this is it. My tummy is basically almost back to what it was pre-pregnancy. So as far as recovery is concerned, vaginal birth, and I was cut. So the doctors, shortly after the baby comes out and the sac comes out, they stitch you up. You feel pressure. They actually stick you in your hoo-ha with a needle. At first I was like, woo! But then they stuck you again, and by that time you don't feel anything. They just kind of do their thing. The stitching that they gave you dissolves, so you don't have to go back and have them take it out or anything like that. You should be pretty set. So after you know, have that done, if you get stitches wherever, you will have a hard time getting up. You really will. You would feel like there's a boulder on top of you and you're trying to get it off of you, and it's hard. But anyway, also, you will poop a lot. Like, you know how I said you feel like you'll have to poop? You'll feel like you have to poop and you'll actually poop. And you may possibly get hemorrhoids. I have hemorrhoids, and hemorrhoids are the worst things in the world, but I'll get to them. So yeah, your hoo-ha basically does what it does itself. Everything kind of comes back together. If you didn't know this, if you pump or breastfeed, your uterus will, you know, start to get smaller and smaller, but you'll actually feel it. It'll like contract and it kind of hurts, but it's not so terrible where like you're dying and you need an epic amount of medication. You don't. I do feel like the doctors would give me a whole bunch of medication for no reason though. I mean, I don't know, I just felt like to feel a little pain is okay. Like, I don't have to be completely numb to this experience, but whatever. I took medication while I was there, but the moment I left the hospital, I didn't need any medication really much at all. So yeah, so the hospital gives you basically everything you need. Pads, this, that, whatever. I will say one thing. You will most likely get a rash from the pads. I did, because I'm very sensitive to pads, especially if there's plastic on them. So I got a really, really bad rash. So I advise you to either invest in looking into cotton pads. I think that is perfect. And I also wear Depends. Probably not the first 2 days I would wear Depends. I would probably wear it the third, fourth, you know, days going on. Just because Depends technically isn't for blood, but I wore it and I did not leak at all. So yeah, and it was actually a little more comfortable than the pads that they gave at the hospital. But yes, look into cotton pads. You should be wearing cotton down there anyway. Your vagina shouldn't even be wearing half of these products that they sell on the shelves. So yes. Yes, it causes irritation. You may experience pain when you pee. And here's a few reasons why. I totally forgot to mention this before, but when you're like in labor and you're in the room, they put a catheter in you. You shouldn't feel it because you have the epidural, but if you do, that may cause some irritation when you pee. Not much you can do about it. And also after birth, when you have to use the bathroom, you're going to use the bathroom pee-wise, because it's like the moment you pee, and like if you try to stop, it's not gonna stop. You have no control over your bladder. It just pours out of you, and if it hurts, I'm so sorry. Talk to your doctor about that to see if there's any way that it could not hurt, but I'm not sure if there's anything that you can do to make it stop. Basically, I was pretty much healed vaginally probably like 4 or 5 days after. I was really chill. I can bend down, squat if I needed to get something, whatever. And then the hospital gives you Hazel witch pads for your butt, and this is the part I'm going to talk about that a lot of people don't really know. Like I mentioned before, hemorrhoids. Hemorrhoids are the worst. I am 3 weeks postpartum and I'm still dealing with hemorrhoids. Hemorrhoids is like veins in your hoo-ha and your butt, not your hoo-ha, in your butt that like tend to poke out. You can have them internally and externally. I have them externally, and it makes pooping really hard, and it really kind of feels like you're giving birth again. So that's not cool. And it's really hard to deal with because you can also bleed after you poop, and it's really uncomfortable. So I'm not doing much about it now, because in 3 weeks I'm going for my checkup, and if it's still really bad, then I'll talk to my doctor, see if they can give me some sort of cream or something to help. Like, a baby comes out your vagina, not your butt. I don't understand why my butt is having so much problems. But yeah, that's kind of like what happens. And my hemorrhoids did shrink, but like I said, whenever I poop now, I find it really hard to poop, and it's just, the veins could flare up again. It's disgusting, but it's what happens. It really happens to a lot of women. And I didn't realize this till I asked a bunch of women who had just had babies if they had hemorrhoids, and all of them were like, oh my god, we have so many hemorrhoids and it's painful. And some people are 6 months postpartum and still struggling with I'm like, God, I don't think I could do this. Like, poop should be an enjoyable experience, you know? But anyway, that's that. I want to say thanks again for those who watched my birth vlog. It did not go the way I necessarily wanted it to go, because I honestly didn't know what the experience would be like. I had this imaginary idea of how it would go, and it went nothing like that. Everything happened super fast, and I was the only one recording it for the most part. So if you didn't enjoy it, sorry. If you did, awesome. I know someone disliked it, and I was like, who would dislike someone's birth vlog? That's so rude. But whatever, it happens. And I wasn't able to record the actual birth because it's policy, we can't do that. And also, there were so much people in that room. I can see why they say don't record. But yeah, I have my son here, and I absolutely love him. And even though I've cried about 8 million times, I'm really happy to be a mom, and he's just so precious and so sweet, and I just want to eat him up all the time. And I will show you guys him really soon. He has newborn pictures coming out, or he's gonna be doing them soon, and then I'll record it, and maybe then I'll show you guys little guy. We'll see. All right, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.